Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can hear me, but I think yes. So I would ask you to take your seats because you will have now a very interesting session. Welcome to today's Brazil session offered by Apex Brazil, the Brazilian Agency for Investment and Export Promotion. Today's session aims to provide insights into the current developments of hydrogen in Brazil, focusing on perspectives from the public sector, sector associations, financial actors, and companies. We'll explore the diverse viewpoints and initiatives shaping the hydrogen landscape in Brazil, offering a comprehensive understanding of its present trajectory and future potential. In the first panel, we will explore the current landscape, providing an overview of the sector in Brazil, and in the second, we'll talk about present, and future projects, presenting the business outlook on Brazil's opportunities in this sector. But first, let us present our opening speaker. Rafael Fonteles, a prodigy in academia, attained a bachelor in mathematics with top honors and a master's in mathematical economics at a remarkable young age. He showcased his brilliance on an international stage by earning recognition and medals in prestigious science competitions during his teenage years. Transitioning to entrepreneurship, he founded his first company at 18 and rapidly grew into a significant enterprise, managing over 1,000 employees by the age of 29. He then transitioned to public service, excelling as State Secretary of Finance and later becoming the Governor of the state of Piauí. It's with great pleasure that I invite the Governor of the state of Piauí to the stage, who will be delivering the welcome remarks for our seminar. Please, Mr. Governor, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear participants, fellow governors of Northeast Brazil, and other authorities. My mission here today is to present to you with a glimpse of the Northeastern Brazil region and the significant role it plays in the global energy transition and decarbonization of the economy organized under the Consortium of East Brazil. The Northeast region of Brazil comprises 9 states: Bahia, Sergipe, Alagoas, Pernambuco, Paraíba, Ceará, Maranhão, Rio Grande do Norte, and Piauí, the state of which I'm proud to be the governor. The region covers a territorial area of over 1.5 million square kilometers, representing 18% of Brazil's territory, equivalent to the size of France, Germany, Spain, and Portugal combined, with a population of over 54.6 million Brazilians. Over the past 10 years, the 9 states of the Northeast have contributed an average of 13.6% to Brazil's GDP. The development nature of the region's economy enables economic growth linked to sustainable development and the transition to cleaner energy sources. Since 2019, these 9 autonomous subnation entities have been organized regionally through the Northeast Sustainable Development Interstate Consortium, Consórcio Nordeste, aiming to attract investments and leverage projects in an integrated manner, promoting balanced economic growth, respecting the environment and democracy, and valuing diversity to generate social well-being in the region. The Northeast is the largest producer of wind and solar energy in Brazil, generating more clean and renewable energy than the total energy consumption of the region. Together, they account for over 8% of all wind and solar energy generated in Brazil. The region is self-sufficient in renewable energy, with approximately 37 gigawatts of wind and solar power plants in operation, another 7 gigawatts under construction, and nearly 94 gigawatts already granted and to be built. In addition to an impressive mapped total potential, just for wind power generation, both onshore and offshore, of 1,000 gigawatts. In offshore wind power generation, which is the next frontier to be explored in Brazilian market, we already have 109 gigawatts under development in the Northeast. This would be enough to supply 6 gigawatts of electrolysis and produce 9 million tons of green hydrogen annually. Due to this abundance of generation and potential for clean and renewable energy, the Brazilian Northeast also stands out in the innovative market of hydrogen. Together, the Northeastern states have projects under development with a capacity of 82 gigawatts of electrolysis, enough to produce 12 million tons of hydrogen per year. Hence, if only 10% of these projects materialize, it would already place us in a global leadership position. But we believe the Northwest region of Brazil can go beyond and play an even more significant role. We can develop innovative and advanced low-carbon industry, particularly focused on the green hydrogen industry, to meet the global demand for products with intensive energy use. We believe the power sharing is the only way to ensure a fair energy transition. But more than that, to truly decarbonize the global economy. That's why we value this opportunity to be here at the World Hydrogen Summit, engaging with hydrogen industry stakeholders to present the projects of the Northeast region of Brazil and seek to establish successful partnerships. Thank you. Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much, Governor. For the first panel, I would like to call on stage Carla Primavera, Deputy Managing Director of Energy Transition Division at the Brazilian Development Bank, BNDES. Carla is a senior executive at BNDES with over 20 years of experience in structuring financing for infrastructure, energy, gas, and oil projects, currently leading the Energy Transition and Climate Department at BNDES. Marina Domingues, Director, Market and Regulation at the Brazilian Hydrogen Association. She's Director and Vice President at Restart Energy for Hydrogen Research in the Americas, bringing over 15 years of expertise in the sector. With a PhD in technology innovation specialized in hydrogen-related technologies, she represents Brazil in international groups. Fernanda Delgado, CEO of the Brazilian Association of Green Hydrogen Industry. She's an accomplished academic, holds adjunct professor positions at Fundação Getúlio Vargas and the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. She has authored 4 books, numerous chapters, and countless articles on the energy sectors and petropolitics. She serves as a board member of the Education Council of Rio de Janeiro Chamber of Commerce. And last but not least, our moderator for the first panel, Pamela Machado. She's a reporter at commodity news and information agency Argos Media, covering hydrogen and future fuels, and will help us today to navigate through the current realities. Pamela, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Guarani. Hello. Good afternoon. So for the first panel, we're actually talking about current realities, regulation, the state of the industry, and financing mechanisms in Brazil. I'll just give a short question for the panelists in the first round, and the second round is a more specific question according to the institutions they are representing. So for the first question to the general audience, the general panel. The discussion about hydrogen in Brazil has been focused a lot on the potential that Brazil has for renewable hydrogen and to be produced in a competitive manner. This is these are true arguments, but many countries also have renewable potential. So I wanted to ask the panel, what do you think is about a unique aspect in Brazil that makes it more competitive or can differentiate Brazil of other countries?
You can start.
So Fernanda
I'll start. Thank you, Pamela. It's very nice to be here in this World Summit of Hydrogen. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you, all the Northeast governments. It's an honor to have you here in the audience. Thank you, Apex, for the invite and to organize all this. So, what makes Brazil unique? What makes the Northeast of Brazil unique is the willingness of making things happen, is the renewable of our grid, is the interconnection of our grid. So we have all the things settled in order to accomplish what we need to make the green hydrogen. But as you said, Pamela, all other countries, and we were seeing here on this show that we have South Africa, Australia, Korea, we have a lot of other countries that are doing the same thing at the same time. So we need to put together the regulatory framework, the legislative framework in order for us to accomplish what we need to have Brazil in the first place. We have to compete, and in order to compete, this competitive advantage, it's a time frame. We have to run. We have, for the first time, to run in order to accomplish what we need to start and to go first before the other countries. So this is so important to have the regulatory framework established, because all other characteristics we already have. The investment, here Carla can talk about money, but Carla can solve all our money problems, and the investors that are on the audience can solve all our issue problems and infrastructure problems. But the regulatory framework, I think it's something that we have to accomplish, because this is a window of opportunity that it's gonna cause.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go next. So I think beyond the things Fernanda mentioned about the potential of Brazil in its renewable energy source and all the willingness that the states of the Northeast and other states in Brazil have also accomplished and bringing projects to the country, I would highlight two other main points. So the first one is the intense local demand and potential of hydrogen to decarbonize some strategic sectors. So Brazil, according to Rystad Energy, is projected to jump from 2.5 million tons of hydrogen demand to 12.5 million tons of hydrogen in just the next 15 years. So that's probably where we can see most demand and potential for the country as well, to extend that hydrogen economy that goes beyond only the supply side. And maybe the second point that I would like to highlight as a strong potential of Brazil is that the country has enormous potentials for all energy resources that are beyond the renewable power that Fernanda have mentioned. So that would include several other aspects of it. So we cannot neglect the potential for natural gas that Brazil has, and carbon capture technologies is also very welcome in the country. And also maybe the most relevant part of it would also be what the Brazilian Hydrogen Association has highlighted as the bio potential of the country. So everything that goes from biomass feedstock, so biomass waste. Brazil is one of the strongest countries out there for agriculture production. So there's a lot of waste that comes from that production. So that waste can easily be utilized for hydrogen production, either for gasification or traditional SMR facilities in the country. So there's a strong bioeconomy also for ethanol production in the country, which also has and comes with a lot of waste. So interacting the several segments and giving hydrogen not only the renewable power generation with strong wind and solar potential that there is in the country, but also bringing all the other capacities for energy resources that are available is also one of the strongest suits that Brazil have. So just to sum it up, Brazil has probably a very good position in terms of having or comprising both supply resources from renewable and fossil-based feedstock that can be applied with carbon capture, but then also other potential demand, especially when you look at the fertilizer sector or other segments such as the mining and steel, and also road transport. So that's it from me.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here and with my colleagues. And as Fernanda and Marina said, we have a lot of several advantages in our perspective. We believe that the combination of these all advantages is the huge competitiveness for Brazil, because we have natural resources, low-cost renewables, a good governance in our power sector. The power sector is so resilient in Brazil. We have a national bank, a national development bank, capable to finance and to structure and de-risk the projects. And I think that the combination offers a unique position for Brazil. And in the second round, I'm going to share with you how BNDES can offer solutions, financial solutions, and de-risk the hydrogen projects in Brazil.
Thank you to the panelists. So I'll just have a follow-up question. Fernanda, you talk a lot about the need for regulatory framework to be in place. What kind of mechanisms are we talking about? What needs to be, let's say, in this regulatory framework for the industry to thrive in Brazil?
Thank you, Pamela. I think nowadays there are some things that we have to demystify regarding green hydrogen in Brazil. When you talk about the first discussions that we started in Brazil was talking about hydrogen to be exported to Europe. We were talking about decarbonizing Europe. And as long as the discussions were flowing, we realized that we can decarbonize Brazil as well. So as Marina said, we have green steel to make, we have green fertilizers to make, we have to bring the content of carbon of our oil down as well. So there is a very good match between the oil industry and the green energy industry. So all the energy industry, they can talk together. So what we have now in place is a big difference between the price of the gray hydrogen, which is used and spread it all over the industries. You use hydrogen for cement, for steel, for food, for many industries. And once you need to bring the content of carbon down in order to stay in this new economy of the 21st century, the new economy, the new order of this green economy, you can change your productive systems, bringing this content down. So how do you do that? Using green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is not all the solution, but this is a part of the solution. Biomass, as Marina said, is a part of the solution. Electrification is a part of the solution, and green hydrogen is a part of the solution as well. So today, one thing that is very important is to close the gap between the price of the green hydrogen and the gray hydrogen. So the first projects of green hydrogen that we are going to be in Brazil, they need some kind of incentive in order to have the prices more close to the gray hydrogen, as we did with ethanol, as we did with biodiesel, as we did with wind energy, as we did with solar energy. So Brazil knows how to do these public policies. It's nothing new. We have been doing this since the 80s. It's something that we do, and we do good. We know how to do it. This is the main mechanism that I think, in my opinion, that we need to launch this right now, and then all the industry will come along. All the industries and the distributors and the export and the import and all the affected industry and jobs and incomes, everything will come on the flow.
Thank you, Fernanda. To Marina, I would like to ask you, you mentioned the different production pathways that it's not a consensus in the global discussion around hydrogen, right? What is renewable hydrogen? What are the new renewable sources? Could you just tell us a bit more? What do you think is a productive way to approach hydrogen? Should we look at hydrogen at colors, green, blue, or should we look at carbon threshold? Should we look at production pathways?
That's a very interesting question because the Brazilian Hydrogen Association is technology agnostic, so we're not supporting only one production pathway. We do understand that there are different ways and different roles to play in the industry. We are particularly agnostic, and we're very focused on the carbon intensity of the hydrogen batch. So that means what is exactly your CO2 emission or CO2 equivalent emission when you're producing hydrogen from a specific pathway. So what the association has done in the last years was has a very strong interaction with a group called the International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in the Economy, which is the IPHE group. I am the task force representative for the CO2 accounting for the different production pathways. So Brazil was very active in participating in the biomass path. So that's also something that the association has contributed significantly. But in that task force, which has now developed further in becoming ISO, so an ISO standard, so it's the TC197. It's the methodology to account for CO2 emissions in several production pathways for hydrogen using a life cycle assessment approach. And the main goal here is to make sure we're comparing apples to apples, so that every country or every location is comparing the same CO2 intensity for different production pathways. It's not part of the task force to establish specifically what is the threshold for the CO2 production, but it is part of the task force to indicate what has to be accounted for the hydrogen production. So we're very technology agnostic, and we strongly believe that being focused on the carbon intensity of the hydrogen batch is the way to move forward, and also to diminish the gaps that Fernanda has mentioned in terms of like what is the compensation between gray production or blue production or whatever color. And the association will praise for avoiding the color coding and using more on focusing more on the carbon intensity of the hydrogen batch.
Thank you. Now to Carla, I think it's the question that I need to ask on behalf of this entire event, I guess. What could the industry expect in terms of financial support or any kind of mechanism from a development bank like the BNDES? If you could tell us a bit more about that.
Okay. We know that international investors, they prefer to invest in mature markets. And having BNDES, it's a huge advantage for Brazil, because we are the global leader in financing clean energy. We finance more than $100 billion in transmission lines and renewable projects in the generation of Brazil. And we have huge experience and expertise to do risk projects. And we have also partnership with MDBs and IDFs to co-financing and to raise money, to raise funds, to put in our balance sheet to lend in Brazil in projects. And also has some competitive funds for green hydrogen, like the Climate Fund, Brazil Climate Fund, and a fund for innovation that we are going to apply to finance the green hydrogen projects. And we have a partnership also with the Brazilian capital market, that we can bring investors and lenders to contribute to scale up these investments in Brazil. Okay. And we finance up to 24 years. It's a long-term funding.
Okay, and can I ask just a follow-up? You mentioned green hydrogen. Is it only,
No.
Are you taking also like an approach to technology agnostic, or is it something?
We are technology agnostic, but we have some credit lines. They are only for green hydrogen.
Okay.
Like the Brazil Climate Fund.
Can we expect them soon?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think our time has run out. Thank you to the panelists for the very interesting discussion. Thank you for the audience for hearing us here today.
The moderator of our second panel. Thank you very much. To join her on stage, I would like to invite following companies' representatives on stage. First, Italo Freitas, Executive Vice President of Commercialization and Energy Solutions at Petrobras. Italo, with a background in mechanical engineering and finance, served as CEO of AES Brazil and Vice President of New Business for AES International Solutions. Currently, he holds dual vice presidency roles at Eletrobras, overseeing commercialization and energy solutions as well as expansion engineering. Marcos Vinicius Gueza Barbosa, Senior Business Development Manager at Prumo Logística, Porto do Açu. A seasoned business leader with over 20 years of experience, Marcos is dedicated to advancing the renewable energy transition, particularly focusing on green hydrogen opportunities. Leveraging expertise in M&A, commercial strategy, and business development, he has successfully spearheaded offshore wind projects and negotiated high-stake deals across Latin America, North America, and Europe. And last but not least, Robert Klein, head of LATAM North Africa at Voltalia, Brazil.
Senhores, ça va?
Robert Klein, head of hydrogen of the Voltalia Group and head of LATAM North Africa, has been instrumental in their Brazil's exponential growth, heading it to become a renewable energy sector leader in Brazil. With extensive international experience and a background in mathematics and engineering, he spearheads Voltalia's Power-to-X sector development and oversees its operations in Latin America, while actively contributing to industry organizations like the France-Brazil Chamber of Commerce and the Brazilian Association of Green Hydrogen Industry. Fernanda, the floor is yours. We will have some time for maybe one or two questions at the end before we leave the stage.
Thank you, Guarani. Thank you for the audience. Hope you can stand with me one more time, like 20 minutes. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here. Well, I have a couple of questions for you three, exploring future frontiers about your business in green hydrogen. I will start with Porto do Açu, with Marcos. Thank you for joining us here, Marcos. Well,
Welcome.
Among the several challenges that we have on green hydrogen, and on green hydrogen in special, there is everything that we have to adapt regarding infrastructure. We have been discussing infrastructure yesterday. On the main summit, there are more than 10 panels about infrastructure. So, how we have to adapt this industry to the infrastructure of the demand that is going to born. Everybody's talking about off-takers and the structure of the demand. Explain us how your project, the Porto do Açu project, and is going to join the infrastructure of green hydrogen, and where do you want to lead Brazil on infrastructure projects? Please, Marcos.
Thank you. Glad to be here representing the southeast of Brazil. And Porto do Açu, which is, maybe you don't know where is Porto do Açu. What's this guy's talking about? Porto do Açu is located in the north of the state of Rio de Janeiro. So very close to Macaé, probably the ones from the deep water business, the offshore business. And my port is just in front of the main EP oil and gas projects of Brazil. So probably might have heard about the Pre-Sal, the Campos Basin, and those types of major projects. So my port, Porto do Açu, which is a private port as well, and the largest private port of Brazil, I would say, is in front of those projects. But I'm not here to say bad things about oil or gas, because we still need those levers there, those levers, I would say, in order to pay our bills. So Porto do Açu is the major. Nowadays, we have 40% of the Brazil's oil export, and we have, in terms of gas, a major plant there generating energy with 3 gigawatts of production of energy in terms of gas. So actually 1.5 in the first project, but we're expanding that to a second project. So we're very well connected with oil and gas, and we don't dislike that. And we believe oil and gas are gonna be supporting and paying our bills and keeping the business active until we go for the full energy transition. In terms of, but now let's go to the green hydrogen, which is the focus here. In terms of infrastructure, I think we're there for 10 years and we develop a very solid, I would say, ecosystem and platform, initially led by oil and gas. But now, since we reshaped our strategy, positioning Açu as the green port, if you will, the green port of Brazil, we want to be spearheading and leading this energy transition in Brazil. Therefore, now in terms of infrastructure, we have, luckily we are in front of one of the main resources of wind of Brazil, so such as Pecém and other locations. Açu has very good resource in terms of wind. So we could become one of the main offshore wind locations in Brazil. And by the way, some big players are already renting an area at the port, anticipating those developments. What else in terms of infrastructure? We are connected to the grid. We have a 500 kV infrastructure. We have another 378 kV as well. And we have a surplus of energy as well. So if we need a 1 gigawatt project, 1.5 gigawatt project today, we can do that. We have plenty of water as well, sweet water, water reuse of our installations, and we have salty water, of course, because we are on the shore. In addition, we just applied for a license, environmental license, for 4 gigawatts of green hydrogen generation at the port. So we will be basically ready to go. Last but not least, one of our main focus now is to push for an HBI project there at the port. So when you say HBI, we have energy, we have water, abundance of water supply, and besides we have a pipeline bringing iron ore from major mines of Brazil into the port. So projects like companies like Anglo American are putting iron ore in our port, Vale do Rio Doce as well. So I think we're good in terms of infrastructure. It's more a matter of a good offtake. Let's get the business done and move on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So we are counting on investments on Porto do Açu. Thank you so much, Marco, for your view. Italo, if there is a molecule of green hydrogen in Brazil, it was done by Eletrobras. So you are a big opening of doors, a big opening of opportunities for green hydrogen in Brazil. Explain for the audience what is Eletrobras project, where you are, and where you're gonna arrive, you're gonna get with Eletrobras Green Hydrogen project. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Fernanda. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me here in Eletrobras. The Eletrobras team is around here, all over the place. So, who to know Eletrobras? You don't know Eletrobras? Eletrobras is the biggest electric company in Latin America. We have around 75,000 kilometers around Brazil, from the north to the south, east to west. And we have around 100 hydro plants. That's very important information, with a 42 gigawatt of energy production. From this 42 gigawatt of energy production, we have 13 gigawatt available to the free market. Brazil right now is passing a new energy reform sector where a lot of energy will move to the free market. So where you can bilaterally negotiate the PPA or whatever you wanted. So Eletrobras, it's one of the biggest player to do that in Brazil, or is the biggest player to do that in Brazil, with a 24/7 renewable energy. Because hydro, different from the intermittent generation as solar and wind, hydro is around 94% capacity factor. So it's a perfect match to produce with a high utilization ratio the electrolyzer when you decide to produce green hydrogen. So based on that, Eletrobras form a very good team to invest in green hydrogen. We are so flexible to see a lot of opportunity in Brazil all over the place. And based on that, we start to discuss with off-takers. That's one of our main discussion. We just signed an MOU with one of the biggest off-taker, one of the biggest project in Brazil called Green Energy Park in the Piauí state. And we signed an MOU with the PSA Import as well to support them in the infrastructure, transmission line infrastructure, and the energy provided. So based on that, we are open and flexible to discuss with off-taker and help them to define their projects, whatever they wanted, because we are all over the place, define the projects to put in export or even internal consumption.
Market.
But one thing that's very important is Brazil is in very compliance with the EU regulation. Why?
Wonderful.
Because in the regions around Brazil, mainly in Northeast, we have more than 93% of renewable right now. So based on that, we can generate and provide green electricity from hydro to support the projects that come into Northeast region. We are advocate to that here in Europe and in Brazil to guarantee that Brazil will be exporter for green hydrogen.
So if we have an off-taker of green hydrogen in the audience, can talk to you.
Exactly.
You have green hydrogen to sell.
Exactly.
And can talk to me as well, by the way.
Thank you, Italy. Robert, we all heard that Brazil is beautiful by God and renewable by nature. Bonito por Deus e renovável por natureza. Explain us, please, in the very small details, nos mínimos detalhes, why Voltalia chooses Brazil to invest in green hydrogen. And thank you for joining us here.
Thank you, Fernanda, for inviting Voltalia for this panel. Actually, Voltalia has been present in Brazil for 18 years now. We've been one of the first movers in power energy in Brazil. While nobody was believing in power energy in Brazil, we started prospecting, especially in Northeast Brazil. I'm so happy to see such a huge presence of the government of Northeast Brazil. Thank you so much. And this shows how they believe also in H2. Then that's fantastic. Since that time, we can say that we are one of the main investors in renewable energy, starting with wind energy in Brazil and then going through solar as well. Then we've been developing more than 10 giga in Brazil. We've been building more than 2 giga, and we own today 1.5, operating 3 giga for us and for third parties. We are a French group. We are in 20 countries. While we're in 20 countries, Brazil represents more than 50% of our business. Just showing you how we bet on Brazil. And then we have decided continuing betting, going further. While we are one of the leaders in renewable energy, we said, and still in Northeast Brazil, we are going to say why in a few minutes, we have decided to go beyond. Why going beyond? While we are a renewable energy company, we know that renewable energy will represent between 50 and 70% of the cost of the hydrogen. More than natural, than companies like us, like Eletrobras, coming from the energy, goes towards the molecules. Then we believe that companies, knowing already the business of the energy, have more facilities. It's easier for them to move to the molecules than from companies coming from the molecules to go to the energy. The complexity of this business is being able to master all the value chain. It's extremely complex. And we believe as a developer, as an investor, and already investing in Brazil with 400 people with specialized departments, we're able also to tackle this kind of business of hydrogen. Why then we want to continue investing in Brazil in the hydrogen? First of all, because of renewable energy.
Sure.
We have already a big portfolio which we can place specifically for hydrogen. Then we have the raw material, let's say. Now, it's not enough. And I'm saying that especially for the governors which are present today. Having lands, a lot of lands available, having a cheap generation electricity. I'm not saying consumption, you know the reason why. Cheap generation, and being a potential off-taker, especially for fertilizers, is not enough. The competition is worldwide. Then that's the reason why I don't consider Eletrobras, I don't consider my competitor renewable energy a competitor in hydrogen or ammonia.
The partner.
It's a partner because it's Brazil somehow against the world. It's a world competition. Each country is trying to promote its own industry in order to be able to export the hydrogen under ammonia, for instance, in order, it's the second time, to import the industry. Everyone is looking for reindustrialization or neo-industrialization. Then Brazil, thanks to the cheap energy, first of all, the competitive energy, maybe not cheap, competitive energy. And second, what you've just mentioned, Italo, the fact that our grid is more than 90% clean is a huge advantage compared to other countries which will rely only on solar or on wind or on batteries. And the last thing, and I will stop there, is that wind and solar are complementary. Then the grid, wind, solar, together with hydro, could make a very competitive mix in order to be the most competitive or among the most competitive players in the world.
Bien sûr. Pretty good. I'll keep with you and then go back with our colleagues
Please.
here. But keeping in mind everything that you said and all the investments that you are bringing, it's very good to hear. This is an investment audience. What would you make you undo Voltalia investment? What are the main challenges that you see? Of course, this is a global competition. We are seeing all those countries that are here on the show. They are putting all the investments together, their subsidies and everything in order to attract green hydrogen industries for themselves and to export or for them internal market. How do you see the main challenges about green hydrogen industry in Brazil?
Well, I will focus on Brazil because actually there are some challenges which are worldwide, like technology challenges, for instance, that we keep, it's for everyone. Mm-hmm. Specifically for Brazil, we need to be the most competitive as possible. How to be the most competitive? First of all, the first molecules may be the most expensive ones in the world. Then the first ones need somehow some incentives in order to be able to start. It's the story of the chicken and the egg. No, the electrolyzer will invest when there will be some off-takers, when there will be some projects. Who is coming first? Then we need the governments, like all the governments. I'm also responsible for the task force of Voltalia. We are investing in Egypt as well. Then there are some countries which governments want to help the first projects to emerge in order to reach a scale effect which will represent competitivity. Then we need a help for the first gigawatts, the implementation of first gigawatts. And I would say, and with ABI, for instance, we are trying to get, let's say, some help regarding the cashback from tax. Mm-hmm. Then if there are some projects, hydrogen projects, that will be taxed for the governments, and we just require to have part of the tax coming back in order to make the first projects competitive. Second, we will talk about self-consumption. We need to keep having the same advantages for the self-consumptions. Other countries use other type of let's say, incentives to help these industries. And let's say, one of the advantages is that we are using the grid, which is clean, but it's also a disadvantage because we will need a lot of load And we need a grid which is enough, robust enough, in order to be able to feed the electrolyzers. And it's a big challenge because somehow government is waiting for the investors to give a strong signal for investment in order to invest in reinforcing the grid, while we need, again, the story of the chicken and the egg,
Yeah.
while we need load enough to be able to reach scale effects. Then I would say those three parameters are among the most important, in order to have this industry emerging in Brazil and being one of the most competitive one. And of course, and concluding with why Voltalia, and I would say the contrary, why Voltalia will remain investing in H2, it's because if we have strong signals that Brazil can remain one of the most competitive country in producing competitive H2 and ammonia.
Thank you, Robert. Very nice to hear that. And Italo, I'll go back to you. We know that there is no such thing as a perfect market, and here in Brazil, taking what Robert already said, we are really afraid about public policies that we took in the past that were not very well done, and the creation of concepts sometimes is very hard to get. How do you see, regarding what Robert said, in our past and the afraids that Brazil has in our past, where do you see Brazilian green energy market from here in 10 years? How do you see it, and what do you need to make it happen?
I think that's the challenge that in the most of the countries is passed through. Right now, Brazil is not different. We need to define very well what will be the policies, basically in line with the international policies as well. Basically, because if you are using the green hydrogen to the internal consumption, probably as Brazil is a commodity country and export the majority of their product, you need to be in compliance with the external policies. Mm-hmm. So I think that in 10 years, we need to align the Brazilian policy to the international policy related to green hydrogen production. But in fact, if you're discussing about green or blue or whatever, the world is passing through a very difficult time related to the climate change. Exactly. We are right now passing through a very bad situation in Brazil right now, in the south of Brazil. That is the result of the climate change. We are right now is not taking consideration that it's green or blue or whatever. We need to decrease the carbon urgent, mm-hmm. So I think that European Union, US, and Japan and Asia have to understand that we need to bring or decrease the CO2 emission all over the place. So whatever, it's green or blue, we need to produce and change the matrix, the world matrix, to green hydrogen or blue hydrogen, but low carbon fuel right now. So based on that scenarios in the front, I think that Brazil is well positioned. What we need to do is define our own policy in line with the international policy, because sometimes the other countries is more difficult to decarbonize their systems because it's a thermal-based grid, and Brazil it's a renewable-based grid. And with that, I think that Brazil is 2 or 3 steps forward than the rest of the countries. But really, we need to define, align, and implement the policies as soon as possible. Focus on lowest carbon as possible, not from green or blue. That's my view, and I think that Eletrobras is helping the off-taker to do that.
Pretty good. Just an example, a quick example about how strong policies can be. The hole in the ozone system was discovered as in the same time as the climate change problem. Remember, in the 80s. And how do you do not hear about the hole on the ozone layer? Because there was a policy in order to ban the CFC gas, the sprays. All the companies were forbidden to use CFC gas. It was a law.
It's well-defined.
It was a well-defined, and everybody has to use sunscreen.
Right.
It was afraid of this. So at the same time, you solve the ozone layer problem because of the strong of the policy and the climate change. There is no strong policy. There is no law. There is nothing that force everybody to do one thing at the same time. So that's why we know that policies work. Very good. Thank you, Italo. And the last question of the section, I'm finishing Guarani. I'm sorry about that. Marcos, we know this is an investor public. So can you tell us about how your port is dealing with the challenges of the hydrogen market for the investors? How in your judgment, how they are seeing, especially the foreign investor, how they are seeing this regulatory framework that are now, especially today, on discussion. Please, Marcos.
Okay. Our company is very well positioned in all those forums of discussions, right? With your association, also Abeólica. So we have a space on the table in order to influence and convey our vision there. But I think what they mentioned, I think, covers a lot of that. What we need is clear rules on the game, and also that to be put in the agenda, not only on the companies, but the central government as well. There is a clear roadmap there, an agenda. Green hydrogen is the new element there, such we have onshore wind, solar. Is a new thing that needs to be franchised, and we like that about the new Bill of Law, for instance. In addition to that, I think the other main elements there are all the tax benefits and self-production as well mentioned. So we need to make this sector comparable with the other sectors, such as the solar, onshore wind, in order to stimulate not only the demand, but the supply as well. So whenever you invest there, you have an investment decision, you know your electrolyzer is not going to have all the crazy CMS, crazy PIS/COFINS. So comparing with all the other segments that we have in terms of renewables, we just went through the tax in the last week, so I think we're very content with that. We supported that, the vision as well, and now I think it's more us as companies, more a matter of selling that, pitching that to the investors, saying, hey, I think Brazil now is getting into a good shape. We have enough visibility and stability on the green hydrogen. Come discuss with us, come invest in Brazil. So I think we're getting in a way better shape than we were like a year ago. And whenever we come back here next year, I think we're going to have good news for the new event. Yeah. So
of course, I think we're going to be here in the next year with another different narrative, another different context. Everybody very happy with the regulatory framework and with a lot of more investments and business on the table.
And projects.
And projects, of course. Marcos, Italo, Robert, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being with us until now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda. I will ask the speakers to stay here because we will have time for one or two questions, but our governor, our welcome speaker, he has to leave soon, so we promised to make a photo together with the other panelists. So Pamela, Marina, Carla, Governador. So where's the official photographer? Okay, please.
Muito obrigado.
Obrigada, governador.
Não.
obrigado.
Obrigado. Obrigado. Segundo mais difícil.
Vem.
Vocês aqui.
Gostou? Falei alto o microfone, não pode. Está aberto.
So thank you, everyone. So is there any questions from the audience? Obrigado, boa viagem. Is there any questions from the audience? Please raise your hand so we can give you a micro.
Tudo bem com a senhora?
If not, then the ones who will talk later will have more time to prepare themselves. So thank you, everyone. And I hope it was an interesting session for you. Thank you.